Live. Live. Okay. So, the microphone is not in correct position. There we go. So Heon got back to me, and got me some contact info for Blue Moon Studios, which is Takahashi. What is his actual name? Murayama. Is it Takahashi Murayama? Yoshitaka Murayama. This guy. He got me some contact info for Yoshitaka Murayama. And so, I need to put together a draft for. Well, the contact info isn't for him specifically; it's just for the studio. So I need to make a draft for some kind of letter to the studio saying this is what I'd like. I'd like to get in contact with Murayama himself to ask him some questions, and then just for the sake of doing it right now, draft how I'm going to ask him those questions. Then I'll have to have Heon translate into Japanese for me. So I think I'll probably say something like, I run YouTube channel called Resonant Arc. I am currently working on a retrospective series on Suikoden. Researching the development history for the second game. I have found some conflicting reports that something like "Thank you for your time. I look forward to." Spell that word. Probably need to update that portfolio now that I think about it. Where did I put that? Where did I put that portfolio? It's in the GTX in here. No. I don't remember where I put my portfolio. Am I blind? Portfolio folder. Let me see if I can find that. Oh, that's right. It was in my resume. Here's the. I think I made a separate portfolio link though that was specifically going to be game. I think I have this in a conversation with Heon somewhere. Link to portfolio that I'm going to use. Japanese. Much higher up. Holy. Dang it. How freaking far? Dude, this is so freaking. Okay, here we go. I think I'm in the right conversation now. Send him a link to my portfolio. Oh, not gonna find it that way. Gotta be. Dang it. Can't find it. How do I freaking find it? It should be in Drive. Portfolio. Not that one, though. Oh, boy. Oh. I thought I had two different portfolios. One for game devs and one for other business stuff. This isn't the only one, is it? I swear I had two. Really confused. Gosh. So this is the portfolio I made specifically for game devs. Or no, this is the one that I made just for other people. But I had made another one specifically for game developers because it focused on some different stuff and took out other things. Bunch of our freaking videos and photos from our trip, my freaking sunburn and everything. Somewhere in here. What the fetch? I should have a second portfolio. Well, if I don't have it, I should make it. Marketing portfolio? What's this? This is for something else. Yeah, this is for totally for something else. Okay, well. I'm gonna have to make a new one, I guess. Where is that even kept, though? So we have all this stuff. What folder would I have kept that in? Should be keeping it in here. Just being thorough. Not in there. You need to. Don't think I would have put it in here. What the? No real videos. No, that's the game that I made in RPG Maker. Stuff. Stream of fix. Okay, well, on there. Maybe it's in just the game tyrant folder. I saw GTX in the tyrant. Video. I swear I would have put it in here. Didn't. Resume. Oh my gosh, it was right there the whole time. Oh my gosh, I found it. I'm so blind. This is the one. So. I will probably want to replace the video links. So that's tailored specifically to him. So I will want to find Suikoden. This video. An example. Maybe I should just delete this. Add a link. I don't remember how to use this. No. No. I want. How do I do this? How do I add a. Forgot how to use this crap. Fetching. What? Insert video. There we go. That's the one. All right. Suikoden, and I think this is my highest viewed video. Well, I wanted it to be in there so they could see. Wow, he gets 400,000 views. So I think I'll probably keep that one in there. Okay, so this is the link I want to share. My portfolio. So if I copy this link, where is the, how do you get a link? Sharing. Here we go. Copy the link. That's the one we want. Get a shareable link. Copy that link. Cool. Done. Now, if I come into here and I say portfolio link, and I turn this into a hyperlink, how do you do that? Link. Why? Like that. Regards. Best regards, maybe. Freaking signing. Voice. How did I sign my name on this? Something like that. Be the first email that I would send to them. If I close these real quick. Go to that, what is it? Well, it lets me edit it because I'm the owner of this, but I don't think that they'll come. I think it'll work fine. Okay. Second email, if I were to actually get in contact directly with Mr. Murayama, say something like, Mr. Murayama, thank you for taking the time to answer my questions. It is my goal to understand the process of What's up, Oz? How are you? I'm formulating some emails to send to Blue Moon Studio and to hopefully eventually Mr. Murayama himself so that we can get some things cleared up about the development history of the game. Playing Final Fantasy VIII Remaster. How do you like it so far? How does it feel as a remaster? Is it worth picking up? Spell that word. Seems to be more expensive on the US store than ours in Oceania. Oceania? What is Oceania? Oh, it's a region. You're from Australia? Yeah, you've told me that. You told me that because you work at the airport, right? Huh. You learn something new. Oh, New Zealand. New Zealand is where you're from. That's what you were telling me. Down here in this region. Well, I'll be. Anyways, factoring in currency, so for me, I've not given this game a shot since around 10 years ago when I was all about the PSP hacking scene. So probably the biggest gap of any mainline FF title. Sure hope this email works out. Okay. How do I word this? Wikipedia. Okay, Us says, I suppose, like you said, with 7, the Switch version would be the definitive way to own the game now. That's good news. I think just the ability to turn off random encounters if you want, to speed the game up, just those two things alone make it freaking best version of the game. All right, let's read through what I've written here and make a decision or fix anything that's wrong with it. So this is going to be the initial letter just to the company, Blue Moon Studios. He'll probably fix this for Japanese etiquette, but to whom it may concern, my name is Michael Brown. I am a documentary filmmaker and run a YouTube channel called Resonant Arc. Currently, I am working on a retrospective series detailing the history of Suikoden, and as I've been researching the development for the second game, I've found some conflicting reports that have given me some hesitancy about moving forward with the video. For this reason, I wanted to reach out to Mr. Murayama himself for clarification so that my information will be accurate, but wasn't sure about the best way to contact him. If he is willing, I would like to reach out to him directly via email to ask a couple of questions. Is there a formal way to correspond with him directly? Thank you for your time, and if you would like, if either you or he would like to see some of my work, I provided a link to my portfolio below. Best regards. Sounds fine. Mr. Murayama, thank you for taking the time to answer my questions. On my channel, it is always my goal to understand the process of creators like yourself. It is always my goal to understand the process of creators like yourself when making such great classics as Suikoden. Before analyzing the games I cover, I feel it is important to know the intentions of the game developers so that I can fairly examine the final product. I also find it fascinating and inspiring to learn about the difficulties that go into crafting games and how the brilliant minds behind them solved many of the problems that always arise in development. If you are interested in seeing my work for reference, feel free to browse my portfolio here. Earlier this year, I posted a video detailing the development history of the first Suikoden game, and I'm now working on a similar video detailing the second. However, in the course of my research, I've come across some conflicting reports that have given me some hesitancy. Course of my research, I've come across some conflicting reports that have given me hesitancy about moving forward with the video. I want to make sure that the information I provide is accurate, so I thought I would reach out to you directly to get some clarification on this point. Hello, Chris. There's a commonly held belief among Suikoden fans that the RPG you were making for Konami's planned video game console was, at least when it comes to story, Suikoden 2. Upon reading interviews, you've clarified that the game itself featured a robust class system, class changing system, and was focused on leveling up characters. So, while the gameplay might have been very different, people seem to believe that the story for the game was essentially what came to be Suikoden 2. There are even some prominent gaming news websites that have claimed that because you weren't confident in your level of experience with RPGs, that you shelved that story and decided to do a prequel to it. A prequel instead in order to build up It's like a synonym for build up. Or build up to. Ramp up, but that's not what I want. Shelved that story and decided to do a prequel instead in order to work up. Maybe that's a better word. You shelved that story and decided to do a prequel instead in order to work up to the story you really wanted to tell. People have also referenced an article from a Swedish gaming magazine called Level, where the author claimed that the characters from the original RPG were Ryo and Jowie. Fortunately, that is in direct contradiction to another interview I read in a book called The Untold History of Japanese Game Developers, where you were quoted as saying the name of the protagonist's friend in that game was Ted, which was eventually carried over to the first Suikoden game. So, with all of that being said, here are my questions. Just how developed was the story for the RPG you were making for Konami's console? How much did that story resemble what eventually became Suikoden 2? Were the names of the characters really Ryo and Jowie, even back then? Did you put that story on hold specifically because you wanted to gain more experience first? Did you approach the first Suikoden as a prequel to the story you really wanted to tell? Additionally, if you can remember any of the hardships you faced when making Suikoden 2, or any stories from the development of that game that would shed light on your philosophy and approach to game design, I'd love to share that with my audience to increase their appreciation of the game. Thank you again for taking the time to read and answer my questions. I am very passionate about the creative process for video games, and have a lot of gratitude to developers like yourself who went through... Well, he's continuing, I guess. Continue to work so hard. Who continue to work, and I have a lot of gratitude to developers like yourself who continue working so hard. I'm very passionate about the creative process for video games and have a lot of gratitude to developers like yourself who continue working so hard to bring vibrant worlds to life with a strong focus on storytelling. I look forward to learning more about how Suikoden 2 was made. Best regards. Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good to me. Well, let's do it this way. I am now going to share this with Hyun. I've drafted 2 emails. One to whoever will look at the info email address, and a second addressed to Murayama himself if he's willing to correspond with me. Here is the first. Here is the second. Oh, come on. What are you talking about, dog? What the frick? Just post it, man. There we go. All right. Been sent. Now we ask him if Monty Python inspired Ted. That would be funny. Okay, that's good for now. I think we can close this up. So while I wait on that translation to come back, I could start working on another video. Just something to put out in the interim. Not quite ready to start working on that Xenogears one yet. I still need to do some more reading before I start that one, but maybe there's something else. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. Something else I could bust out. USA's. Actually, now that I think about it, I just got an idea for this. Oh, Final Fantasy 1 review. I can show you what I've done on that so far. This one actually, of all of the new reviews, is the closest to being finished. I've added like a ton of stuff to this. But what I do need to work on this one is the actual review portion of it, which is definitely not in the style of the current one. The current videos, the most recent videos, I should say. Basically, from this point onward, I need to adjust it so that it reflects my kind of current voice. But I can at least read the new version of the development history, see what you guys think of this. In the early 1980s, the consumer electronics industry was still in its infancy, a vast frontier where a wide variety of technologies lay waiting to be discovered. One pioneer on the software side, a man named Masafumi Miyamoto, after graduating from Waseda University, reluctantly joined the software division of his father's powerline construction company, Denyu-sha. But having conflicting ambitions from his father, he began creating computer games in October of 1983, though he of 1983, period. Though he wasn't deeply knowledgeable about computers himself, he was confident that he understood how a good computer game should be made, and thus a little company called Square found its initial footing as an official division of Denyu-sha. Back in the 70s and early 80s, video game development was commonly conducted by only one or two people, a single programmer and possibly a colleague or friend, and the burden of creating every aspect of a game fell upon them. Miyamoto's philosophy was different. He believed that the tech would evolve quickly, becoming cheaper and more accessible to consumers, and thought that it would be more efficient to have graphic designers, programmers, artists, and writers working together on a single project. And in that pursuit, he hired two college students, Hironobu Sakaguchi and Hiromichi Tanaka, as part-time employees, both of whom would go on in the pursuing years to lead teams of their own. Upon being hired, Sakaguchi thought he would only be doing clerical work, but soon found himself developing video games. Square's first two titles, The Death Trap and its sequel, Will the Death Trap 2, were both commercial successes given the time period, and were designed by a number of talented employees who focused on separate aspects of game design. Chris says it shouldn't be allowed for there to be more than one video game creative named Miyamoto. Too many people named Miyamoto in Japan, man. By the mid-1980s, Nintendo's Famicom had found widespread success across Japan, but despite this, Square initially showed reluctance to begin developing for Nintendo's console, considering the Famicom a toy when they fancied themselves cutting-edge developers of computer software. I wanted to throw in a little bit of a gag right there to say, like, see, even back then, Square was obsessed with graphics or something like that, but I'm not sure I want to do that. There's part of me that kind of wants to maintain an air of professionalism with this, so you can let me know what you think about that. But this had a lot to do with Square's approach to graphics when making the Death Trap, a feature which they felt gave them an advantage and led to the success of the game, allowing them to create excellent visuals, but at a higher cost to the CPU than the Famicom could withstand. Seeing Nintendo's console explode across the country, however, eventually convinced them to begin making games for the console, and by September of 1986, Square cut ties with Denyu Shaw and became an independent company, officially named Squareco Ltd., and it was then that Hironobu Sakaguchi and Hiromichi Tanaka became full-time employees. At this time, they also moved into a nice office in the Ginza district of Tokyo, and the future seemed very bright. Unfortunately, they entered into a contract with Nintendo a little too late to be beneficiaries of the Famicom boom that had made other studios a lot of money, releasing a slew of unsuccessful titles that produced zero profit even after a year and a half of focusing on Famicom games. And this continued lack of success pushed Square into a very uncertain time. In an attempt to turn things around, the company relocated to Ueno, Tokyo in 1987, downsized to roughly 30 employees, and began thinking about what could be done to change their fortunes. Staff members looked at the successes of rival company Enix with their hit role-playing game Dragon Quest and began talking about making a similar kind of game. It was in these discussions that Hironobu Sakaguchi said in an almost prophetic manner, "I don't think I have what it takes to make a good action game. I think I'm better at telling a story." And so development began on Final Fantasy, a game that would not only go on to save Square as a company, but would spawn a legacy that would stand in the spotlight of the gaming industry for the next 30 years and counting. The process of creating this game, however, wasn't exactly smooth sailing. Reading Sakaguchi's statement, maybe I'll say something like, "On a legacy would stand in the spotlight, in the RPG spotlight, maybe. But would spawn a legacy that would stand in the RPG spotlight for the gaming industry for the next 30 years and counting. The process of creating this game, however, wasn't exactly smooth sailing. Reading Sakaguchi's statements about the development process, it would seem as if the odds were stacked against the game even on an internal level. The development team was comprised of 7 people. Hiromichi Tanaka was heading the other team in Square, and they had about 20 people. That's how I knew we really weren't popular. This left Sakaguchi with a distinct lack of confidence and caused him to consider leaving Square to go back to the university he'd left. It's commonly believed that the reason Final Fantasy was given its name was due to the fact that it was Square's last-ditch effort. I don't know what it thinks I should be saying here. Ignore. Square's last-ditch effort. Is that? Hold on. I think there should be a hyphen between them. Yeah. Due to the fact that it was Square's last-ditch effort. The last game they could afford to produce before shutting down. But the truth is that there are conflicting accounts on how the name was chosen, even from Sakaguchi himself. In an interview with Famitsu in 2007, he said that he called the game Final Fantasy because it was the last chance he was personally giving to the game industry, and if it didn't sell well, he would take his life in a different direction. However, in 2015, Sakaguchi gave a talk where he explained that Square simply wanted a title that could be abbreviated to FF in English, which sounds pleasant to the ears of Japanese people. At first, they were planning on calling it Fighting Fantasy, but in order to avoid copyright with a gamebook series which had already taken that name, they went with Final Fantasy instead. He went on to say, those days certainly seemed like end times, but honestly, any word that started with F would have been fine. And I threw another gag in here. Again, I don't know if I'll keep this. Well, maybe not any word, Gooch, but I feel you. I like that joke, so I kind of want to keep that one, but we'll see. So which account is the true story? Well, I suppose it could be both, honestly. I suppose it could... I'll take the word out. Well, I suppose both could be true. Well, I suppose both could be true, but in either case, when Sakaguchi complained to higher-ups about how the staff had been allocated, he said that... He said that I probably hit the staff with that pretty harshly, but Koichi Ishii and Takamura took it the other way. Me saying it's impossible with this team actually spurred them on. Motivated to create something truly special, the team put their hearts and souls into the game, and Sakaguchi described their passion by saying, way back then, the spirit was that we weren't making a product, but a creation. It was putting our soul into the production, pouring all our hearts into the game, even if they crop up, putting all our ideas into the game, even if they crop up during development, not saving anything for the sequel. The hard work and dedication paid off, and the game came together brilliantly, but even still, it was difficult to get the publicity they needed to have a true commercial success. Even after the enormous popularity of Dragon Quest, Sakaguchi had a hard time finding outlets willing to talk about an RPG. He took an in-development ROM to the editor of Family Computer magazine, but was turned away, and in the end, only Famitsu was willing to give Final Fantasy a chance. Even within Square, Sakaguchi had to beg the higher-ups to produce enough copies to give the game a shot at a sequel. Initially, only 200,000 copies of the game were going to be shipped. At that time, manufacturing the ROM took 2 to 3 months, so your initial shipment equaled the number of copies you could potentially sell. So I argued within the company and pleaded, if we only make this many, there's no chance of a sequel. Please make it 400,000. Despite the high cost of shipping so many units, Square's management decided to take the risk, and on December 17, 1987, Final Fantasy hit store shelves and never looked back. So that is the new development history section for Final Fantasy I, greatly expanded from what I had done in the original video, and far more accurate to the actual story. And what I like about this too is that it breaks down I don't know how many years people have perpetuated the idea that Square Enix or that Squaresoft was going to shut down. They had no more money. This was the last game they were going to make, and then they were going to call it quits. The entire idea of that is absurd when you really think about it. What company says to themselves, oh, we don't have the money to keep doing this. We're not having a lot of success. Let's just do one more game for funsies and then call it quits. That's never the freaking mentality of any company, man. That would be retarded to approach a game that way, having this idea in mind, and we'll just do one more for the sake of it. So anyways, the entire idea of it is silly to begin with, but that is what people think happened. That's what they think, the naming can, that's why they named it Final Fantasy, and it's not. So I think that'll be nice to update that info. But I definitely still need to kind of go through this part and update it. I don't want this paragraph to go the way that it currently goes. Yeah, exactly. Tearing down the myth, right? Which I think I kind of want to do with this Suikoden 2 video as well, because when you do stuff like that, that's going to get people to share the video and say, hey, man, like, check this out. New info on a game that we all love that we didn't know before, kind of a thing, right? Or there's a really great breakdown that tears down some misconceptions about it or whatever. So that's kind of why I want to make sure that I get this right for the Suikoden 2 video as well. But the review portion of this, I'm not happy with currently. I need to update this. Maybe I can kind of look over it now and see what I could do. Now I could sit here and tell you about how it went on to popularize the genre in the West. How it changed the landscape for console RPGs, and could probably spew a lot of other facts that don't come from personal reflection, considering I was a little too young to grasp the more elaborate nuances of RPGs, even when Final Fantasy finally did reach American shores in 1990. But I think it would be better to just jump right in and explain why it's so charming. Despite its history and lightning in a bottle level of success, I think it's impressive enough that it's still fun to play even after 30 years. So here's where I need to make a decision. And I'm really not sure. I really haven't decided yet. So maybe you guys can help me out. When I originally started making these videos, I wanted to make them, you know, kind of my personal opinions on the game, but mixed with this, like, sort of historical, retrospective side of it, so that you can get some cool history behind the title to deepen your appreciation for it, but at the same time offer my unique perspective, my opinions on the game on the back end of that. That was like my entire thought process behind creating these videos. Over the course of the 9 years or so that it's been since I put out the very first one I ever did, I think that, I don't know, my approach to this has changed a lot, and I've started to think that I don't value my opinion, and I don't really value that much other people's opinions of video games. Like, I don't really care what people think about the game. I care more about just learning the facts behind it. Or even if it's not like a history sort of video or a retrospective, or if it's not about like the development, I would be more interested in someone reporting what you can expect to see in the game, but not give value judgments to those things. I've kind of stopped. I can't even remember the last time I read a review or watched a video that was a review of a video game, because I have no interest in that person's opinion on the thing. I don't want them to tell me why the speed of the battle system is bad. I don't really care about that. What I care about is, what is the speed of the battle system? I want to be able to make the decision myself based on what is being presented to me. So I can either adjust the review portions of them to just sort of detail like what's in the game, what you can expect, but not provide personal value judgments to that. Or if enough people really want my opinion on it, I can kind of keep it the way that it is. Have you ever watched Jim Sterling's objective review of FF13? I'm not sure if you're joking by saying that, or if he did release a separate review from the one he did back in the day on FF13, which he trashed really hard. Did he do some kind of update to it? Oh, the objective review. The 100% objective review, Jimquisition. So this was his original one. This is a remastered one. So I watched this. Oh wait, this was even. Well, the game came out in like 2009. This is an updated version of it. Anyways, I haven't seen this, so well, it's only 5 minutes long. In that case, I'll definitely watch it after I finish streaming today. But how long was this one? No, they're both about the same length. Did he just re-upload the same freaking video? Because I remember at least reading a legit review from him on Final Fantasy 13. Unless this is a gag of some kind. It's like a joke or some kind of commentary on how games are reviewed or whether or not a game can be. Is the negative Jim Sterling? I feel like it is. Yep. Wait, no. Did he work for Destructoid at the time? I'm pretty sure he did. Yep, here it is. Jim Sterling. This is the one I remember reading. Back in 2009 or whatever. Gave it a 4 out of 10. Yep, this was 2010, sorry. March 16th, 2010, Jim Sterling. That's the one I remember seeing. I don't think I've seen this. Anyways, I'll take a look at it later. But you'll have to let me know what you think. You want my perspective and my opinion on it, I can still do that. If you'd like it to kind of just feel more like a retrospective, a look at a game that is more objective. That's kind of where I'm leaning, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. So, anyways, I had an idea. Or this. Let's open this one. Oops. Whichever you won't make, whichever won't make you feel like remastering these videos in a few years. That is a tough call. That is a tough call. I'm not sure. That's why I'm kind of asking you guys what you would like to see. But okay, so I don't know. I'll think about this. Time is it 5? When did I start this stream? I don't remember. Anyways, I think I am going to do this a little bit. I'm going to think a little bit about this Xenogears video first. Kind of go through the script that Pat has up here. But I think I'm going to do this off screen for now. I need to run and get something to eat while I kind of mill over this. But thanks for watching, fellas. Appreciate you guys. Chris Ewan is currently typing. Chris says value judgments are a double-edged sword. Yeah. And Chris has got to go as well. Anyways, appreciate you guys. I'll be back again tomorrow. Have a good one. Peace out.